With our web server farm all configured and available, let's confirm if this works, including how we can monitor the activity and the number of connections that has been established to each server. So in our environment, each of our web servers has a very simple web application running. On each server, the web page will contain the server number so we can know if we are reaching other servers. Now, this will ensure that load balancing is indeed working correctly. So for testing, from our computer, we will be acting as the client. So let's bring up a web browser. We'll bring up an Internet Explorer browser. And in the address field, we need to enter the IP address or the domain of the virtual server that we set up for the web farm. And again, we have set up a DNS record for ws routehub.local, which maps to the virtual server address that we have set up. So let's enter that domain name, which is ws routehub.local. Great, and we are connected, as you can see, to web server number 3 there in the heading right there. Let's refresh a couple of times. Okay, more connections here. And of course, during this particular process, you will see that we have also connected to web server 4, where in reality, we have connected to all the web servers, but our browser is caching most of it here. Now let's move our browser and determine how we can monitor how many connections were established among the servers in our pool. Now, there are many ways for viewing the statistics of our virtual server or even the server pool. Now, one way is to go directly to the option that we set up, like pools or virtual servers. Let's start there. Here on this page, you go to statistics, this tab right here, and let's select virtual server. This will show all virtual servers added to our big IP. And here we see that there were a total of 16 web connections established. All of them came from our web browser when we refreshed it several times. We see that the maximum number of connections at any given time was 6, and that there are currently no active connections established to the virtual server or its server pool. We can also view the total bits and packets based on those 16 connections. When we go to the statistics for the virtual address this time, so let's go to statistics and virtual address. This will show similar details, but it will reflect the virtual addresses instead. And here you will see the same total number of connections, which is 16, with the same amount of bits and packets that were transferred. Now, I typically do not use this page for viewing the virtual server statistics, but this is what this page looks like and what it provides. Now, viewing the total number of connections to the virtual server is one thing, but I would like to know how those 16 connections were distributed among our 4 web servers. So to view the pool statistics, let's go to the pools configuration page, and let's go to pools. And then from there, let's go to statistics. Very similar to what we did for virtual server. Now this will show some very good details. So on the left here, you will see our pool that we set up, including the pool members that we added, including, of course, its availability. For the actual statistics that's over here, we know that 16 total connections reached our virtual server. Well, those connections also reached our server pool. And we can see that there were a total of 16 web connections to this pool. Now, among those 16 connections, each of our web servers received a total of 4 connections. So as you can tell, everything has been evenly load balanced among our servers based on the round robin method. Again, we'll cover the different methods in a different video. You will also see the total amount of bits and packets based on the number of connections for each server. So this is the page that I typically use for monitoring a server farm that is being load balanced. Another statistics page that we can view is based on the nodes themselves. So let's go to the nodes page. And let's go to statistics. And this will show all servers that has been added to a pool, all of our web servers, because we may have multiple pools with different or the same servers. But here we can view the total number of connections, bits, and packets to each server. This becomes important if your server exists in multiple pools. But here you will see the same number of connections for each of those servers, which is 4 connections. Remember, this is not taking into the account of the pool itself. The node is basically the individual server itself and the connections it receives. So that's why we see the same number of 4 connections that we saw from the pool's statistics page. Now going to each of these pages for these pool, the virtual server, and the nodes, including other pages, is the long way to do it. But all these reports and statistics can be viewed from one page, and it has better navigation. And that is located here under statistics, and going to module statistics, and going to local traffic, which is the module that we're licensed to use. Under display options right here, we can select the statistic type that we want to view. Now by default, it is selected for status summary, and that is reflected here, listed below. And this will show the number of virtual servers, the pools, and even the nodes that are added to the big IP, including the status for each of these components. So for example, we know that we have set up 1 virtual server, which is the total, and we know that it is available for clients to access. Now, when we click on the virtual server total number, which is like a link, let's do that. Doing that will forward us directly to the virtual server page for the configuration. And of course, from there, we can view the statistics page that we've seen before. Okay, now let's go back to the module statistics page again. Oops, let's do that again. Let's go to local traffic under that. Now, all of the different statistics that we can view can be accessed right here under statistics type. And this is where we can view the stats on our virtual server, our pool, our nodes, even persistent records, all easily from this view. So for example, let's view the stats for our nodes. So we can just scroll down to nodes, which is right there. Okay, and this will show the same details that we saw before. Now let's view our pool stats again. So let's go to the statistics type and let's choose pools. And that will show our pool, the pool members, and of course our 16 connections that we saw before. And we can easily view our virtual server or the virtual address by going up here and selecting those details. So going to the stats page for each of those configuration options or those components, it leads to the same place as you can see. And this is where we will go moving forward for monitoring the load balancing activity on our big IP appliance. We'll go to our module statistics, local traffic, and then navigate to the different statistics types that we want to view the activity that we want to see. Another resource that you can use is the real-time dashboard, which will show pretty much the same thing. To access this dashboard, you will go to Dashboard, which is here under Statistics. And this will bring up a Flash-based window with different widgets on it. So it will show CPU, memory usage, total connections, and throughput calculated through the big IP. So right now there isn't much activity because we do not have any client connections established. So let's generate some new connections from our web browser. Let's bring that up. Do refresh a couple of times. Let's go back to our dashboard. And from there, you will see that the CPU resources increased, the throughput increased, and the connections has increased as well. So this is some of the details of what this dashboard itself can provide. And of course, everything here is in real time. Now, if you want to view specific details about the virtual server, the pools, and the nodes, you can get that specifically by going right up here, changing the view, and going to standard and to our LTM. Let's wait for some of this to refresh. Okay, there we go. So then here you will see basically our bottom widget will show the statistics of our virtual server. And of course, the pool that is added to the actual virtual server, to even the pool members if you really need to them. So this is some of the things that you can do here in the dashboard, very similar to what we saw on the other pages and what it can provide. But I find it more useful to use the module statistics page to navigate through the different stats in the server farm. It really provides the same thing and is a lot more cleaner.